next video. Let's get it.
So today's video is going to be a little bit different because rather than focus on one case, I'm actually going to focus on three.
Is
These
that
three
Annabelle,
cases are
though?
significantly shorter than the ones I would typically cover, but I still found them interesting and I wanted to include them in a video, so I just kind of lumped them together and I'm going to share all three today. Alright, that's my quick explanation out of the way. Now let's get right into three mysteries that were solved by the internet.
The Google
On the
Earth
evening of November 7th,
disappearance.
1997, William Earl Molt was out at a nightclub having a good time with some friends. Despite the fact that William was not much of a drinker, he still decided to have a few just to kind of celebrate the night. It was a night that didn't end up going too late, however, as by the time 9:30 rolled around, William had called his girlfriend and told her that he would be coming home soon. She knew
Okay.
that William had had a few, but apparently he didn't sound too intoxicated.
He didn't
Based
sound
off of
too
the fact that it was so early on in the
intoxicated.
night, she could safely assume that he wasn't drunk,
He
and she figured that
wasn't
William would
drunk.
be home safely soon. But as the hours went by and William still hadn't showed, she began to get concerned. As the hours turned to days, local law enforcement soon
You see, how you gonna trust a nigga who went out to a party, drink? She gonna assume that he was gonna be home safe. How you assume that he was gonna be? No, that's weird.
got involved, and the search for William Molt was on. But after Molt had left that club, there was never any sign of him. He didn't make any more calls, and he didn't make any stops that were caught on CCTV footage. Strangest of all was the fact that he left no evidence behind.
Nigga
and that
left
includes
no
his car.
evidence.
Much like Molt himself, his car was nowhere to be found, and it would remain that way for decades to come. But where could Molt have gone? Sure, it was possible that he had run away and started a new life somewhere else, but by all accounts, Molt was a happy person and he had a very good life. Plus, dropping off of the face of the earth is much easier said than done. I mean, how can you just vanish?
I feel like
that?
dropping off the face
It
of
was
the
just one
earth
of
in
those
the
cases
90s
that
is
didn't
easier
make
now,
any
though.
sense. And as the years went on, his family and friends had to live with the confusion and the lack of closure. Now in 2019,
Like,
this
you feel
case
me?
seemed totally
In the
hopeless.
1990s, they
It was a
weren't
lost
tracking
cause.
phones,
William
so
Molt was gone, and his family would
it was
likely
easier for
never
him
know
to, like,
why.
disappear.
That is, until a clue was finally revealed. In a quiet residential community in Wellington, Florida, a homeowner received a call.
Bro, why does it have to be in Florida? Everything bad that always happens always end up in Florida, dog. Like, it's always Florida specifically.
From a former resident of the area.
Like, not
This
always,
resident
but you
had
get
been
it, like,
viewing the
bro.
area on Google Earth when something strange caught his eye. As he zoomed into the small retention pond located in this man's backyard, he saw what appeared to be a large object submerged in this shallow pond. A large object that looked quite similar to a car. On the phone with the current homeowner, this man told him that there was a car submerged in his backyard pond. Obviously confused, the owner denied the claim at first. In all the years that he had lived there, he had never once noticed it. But upon seeing the screenshot from Google Earth, he became concerned. Wanting to get a better look at the object submerged in this pond, the man contacted his neighbor who owned a drone. Together they watched as the drone confirmed their suspicions that there was in fact a car stuck in the pond. Upon calling the police, the car was eventually fished out of the shallow retention pond, but it had one more shocking secret to it. In the front seat of the car was the skeletal remains of a man named William Molt. Somewhere along his drive home from the nightclub, William took a sharp turn and swerved into the pond, never to be seen for over 2 decades. That was before the water shifted in the pond, revealing the hidden vehicle. Though friends and family of William were obviously disappointed and saddened that he had turned up dead, it still provided them with a sense of closure, something that many don't actually get in cases such as this.
This is why you don't drive home after a night of drinking. That's fucking crazy. That's damn.
At a truck stop in Missouri, an abandoned plastic bucket caught the eye of retired trucker Ronald Telfer. Though he was intrigued, he didn't check it out until he arrived at the same station a month later and discovered that it was still there. Needing a bucket to feed his pigs with, Teller decided to take it home with him. The 5-gallon bucket was exactly what he needed, except for the fact that it was filled with concrete. And in an attempt to clear it out, he smashed the bucket against the pavement, cracking the concrete. Immediately, he smelled a disturbing and strong odor coming from the bucket. Thinking that it must have been animal remains stuck within the concrete, Teller slid the concrete out, left it on the ground, and drove off with his now empty bucket. Which I have so many questions about this. Like, first of all, why would he just assume that these were animal remains? And also, wouldn't he at least be sketched out that animal remains were solidified in a concrete bucket on the side of the road?
And who will do that?
It seems a little weird.
Who will put animal remains in a concrete bucket? Like,
weird to me, at least.
That's just
Months later,
weird.
Construction worker Franklin Ray noticed the concrete cylinder lying on the side of the road. He
Okay.
hopped out of his truck and pushed it out of the way, and that's when he noticed something. It looked like hair coming from the concrete.
Hair
Attached to a skeleton. Police were contacted, and it was revealed that there was in fact a human skeleton that had been molded into the bucket. This terrifying mystery only grew as police were unable to ID the person who the skull belonged to. So we had this severed head in a concrete bucket on the side of the road in Missouri, and nobody can figure out who it belongs to. I mean, law enforcement and experts all had a crack at this, and nobody could figure out who it was. And they just kind of accepted the fact that they would never know. That was until the power of the internet came along. An exact replica of the skeleton was produced and posted in an online article discussing the mystery. That's when Ellen Leach got a hold of it. Leach studied the skeletal recreation the same way that she had done multiple times with other cases that she helped to solve. This time around, Leach was able to pair the skeleton by measuring the distance of the facial features. And the match was with a man named Gregory May, an Illinois native who had been presumably murdered, yet his body was never found. In Illinois, it was suspected that May's friend Doug DeBrune had murdered him in order to steal his Civil War memorabilia collection. However, without an actual body or
You gonna kill your homie to steal some Civil War memorabilia collection? That's some Caucasian shit. Like, what? Like, if it was money, yeah. But a Civil War memorabilia collection.
or at least a part of the body, it would have been unlikely that DeBrune would have actually been convicted, because after all, they couldn't even confirm that he was dead. But with Leach's discovery, DeBrune was eventually found guilty of the crime and is now serving a life sentence. And it was all because someone found a picture on the internet.
The Grateful Doe.
On January 26, 1995, a fatal accident occurred in Greensville County, Virginia. And in the van involved in this crash, 2 people ended up sadly passing away, one of whom was identified fairly quickly, while the other wasn't. This person had no ID on him, and police were unable to match his DNA to anyone in their systems. The only thing that the unarmed person had on him was ticket stubs for a Grateful Dead concert. He was also wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt. And because of this, the man was actually nicknamed the Grateful Doe, and he would be identified as such for the next 20 years. Meanwhile, in the year 2015, 28-year-old Layla Betts had stumbled upon the story and began doing some research. She took an interest to the case, but she knew that she wouldn't be able to solve it on her own. So she decided to enlist the help of others by creating a subreddit entitled r-Grateful Doe. Layla would spend hours a day monitoring the thread, replying to comments, and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's when someone contacted Layla with a message that would blow the case wide open. Many years ago, a man named Steve had lived...
I don't know what the fuck I was gonna say. Like, I was gonna say some crazy shit. Thank God I stopped. Thank God I stopped.
in an apartment in Illinois with a few roommates. One day, one of his roommates, named Jason Callahan, vanished. He packed his things and he moved out without saying a word to anyone. Callahan had never once tried to reach out to Steve or his roommates in the years that followed, and the only thing that Callahan had left behind was a set of charges to a 1-800 number. A 1-800 number for Grateful Dead fans.
Okay.
Steve obviously found this to be very strange, but he eventually forgot about Callahan entirely. And that's when he discovered the Grateful Doe subreddit, and immediately recognized the sketches of the unnamed victim as being his former roommate, Jason Callahan.
He got strong ass chin. Like, RIP to him, but that chin is strong.
About his revelation, and upon getting confirmation from Callahan,
and he got no neck. Nigga looked like Bruce.
Was finally solved. Layla Betts had used the power of Reddit to solve a case that had baffled everyone, including law enforcement, for 20 years. Now, with a channel like mine, I rarely get to cover cases that have satisfying conclusions like these. I mean, the sad truth is that most of the missing people that I talk about on this channel
these niggas don't
remain
ever
missing
get found.
to this day.
RIP.
But stories like this remind me that any case can be solved at any time. And perhaps using my platform to share these stories could
some of these people don't get found in real life.
Solved. I mean, you never know. You know, after all, the internet has solved mysteries before.
W video. I fuck with it. Alright.